Alright, so subscriber on my YouTube said, Toby, you have a math degree if I'm not mistaken. I am studying chemical engineering in university and I do full body 3 times a week. Sometimes I even do upper lower split 4 times a week. How often did you lift in school and how did you balance university and lifting? Especially with a STEM degree like, the maths and sciences, engineering, physics, chemistry, pre med, math, or anything of that meat, computer science. So, this is basically how I did it. I'm just gonna talk. Alright, so, freshman year, I was just living my high school years I didn't live because high school I was just the book nerd who just worked out and studied. Wasn't really making friends in high school, barely talked in high school. Was just that guy known for studying and lifting in my high school. I was also very quiet, all that stuff. Not gonna get into it. In university, I make friends for the first time. I I did some wild stuff. Not gonna say on video. Probably like actually I'm gonna say it, young people party, all that stuff people do. You know, all that what young people in their teens and twenties do. All these house parties. And but one thing remained is I still lifted. I quickly became one of the stronger kids, the strongest kid in school, and one of the most jacked, best physiques in school. Even still being a teen as a freshman, I still was jacked and strong. I was one of the first people in my New Jersey University doing squats and deadlifts when it was rarely done. In the gym, everyone was about chest and abs because, I went to university 2010. That's when I started. I was in the 2010s. I was in university, and by in 2010, the culture was more like EDM party, and one of the most famous culture shifts was like Jersey Shore, the fist pump era. And I'm from Jersey, so except I'm from a small town in Jersey. I wasn't by the shore, but it was really the party era. Party scene was big and gym, tan, laundry, all the show muscles, chest, arms, chest, arms, and abs. Nobody was squatting, nobody was deadlifting. Powerlifting was still a niche. I was one of the few people actually powerlifting. I was doing it from high school because I was watching the early strongman. I was following bodybuilding. I was following powerlifting. And I was one of the few people, even in New Jersey, lifting raw because, I saw the Lily Bridges, I saw George Lehman. I was one of the first people that followed Pete Rubish at the time, the basement deadlifter, became a deadlift legend. And I was following Chris Hickson, rest in peace, one of the youngest people to deadlift 800, the lightest one to do it. Even though the first one to deadlift 800 raw was Eric Lillibridge, but Chris Hickson did at the lighter body weight. And, I was chasing those people, so I brought powerlifting into New Jersey, kind of. And of course, maybe very few others were doing it, but it wasn't a thing in New Jersey powerlifting. I was doing it since 2009 powerlifting after calisthenics in high school and just messing around my first 3 years since 2006. But anyway, university, party, not losing who I was, making friends who wasn't really the best fit for me, but sometimes I still lived a life that I thought I was missing because even in high school I felt very lonely. I wanted to have people to hang out with. I wanted to do things with people outside of school, but I didn't have that, so I fulfilled that my freshman year of college. So they have a special place in my heart for that, even if it wasn't the best, or they weren't the best type of people to be around because the morals didn't align and stuff. But anyway, and I also met one of my first workout partners there, Champ. He was my first client in 2011. I trained with Champ, and he made a lot of progress. So that's what made me think, okay, not only am I making progress myself, I'm also good at training people because everyone I trained was making a lot of progress and getting stronger, and I knew a lot. So it took like most first few years of high school and middle school messing up training to like end of high school and beginning of college to know what I'm doing and making gains. In fact, I got my first beach body as a junior in high school, 17 years old. I was ripped. Anyway, even first semester of freshman year of university, I was pretty strong, man. One of my friends, even to this day, Charles, he saw how strong I was, so shout out to him. I hit I hit a pretty big bench my first semester. I hit a 305-pound bench, still being 18 years old. And my first major lift, 585-pound raw deadlift. So, and that was unheard of. And back then, a 305 bench as a teen is not a lot. But now you could go on, open Instagram, open YouTube. It seems like everyone in high school is benching 305 or even 400 and a few 500. Even 305 back then was a lot for a high schooler or a teenager or even an adult. And I deadlifted 585 as an 18-year-old my first freshman semester. The whole school just talked about me. I was a talk of the school with that lift because it was never done before in my university. And the only ones lifting that type of weight, to be honest, were the football players. But beside that, the non-football players, no one was lifting like I was because I trained to be strong. And I was even stronger than almost all the football players. So that's why after that 585 deadlift, the whole university was like, okay, that dude Toby, he's taking all the steroids. That guy, even with the physique guy, they're like, that guy's on steroids. He's no way is he natural, because a lot of them weren't deadlifting, and even 585, that wasn't really a thing back then in 2010. Now it's like common occurrence. But nowadays, even in most gyms, you won't see 585 deadlifts. Yet alone an 18-year-old natural teen doing it. And back in 2010, a natural, a not, there weren't many 585 natural deadlifts. The only ones doing more were on steroids. In fact, the only other natural I knew who was doing more than that back then was Ben Rice and Matt Somer. Those are the only natural, and the Roderick Duncan, who had YouTubes at the time. Those were the only ones back then who I knew doing more naturally, who are around my age, even though Roderick's a little older. But the natural records were still more, but in New Jersey, not much. And Matt Somer, I'm a little older than by like a year in a few months. He was the only one lifting that much in the squats and deadlifts, like freakish, naturally. Otherwise, everyone else doing more was on PEDs, and those were the best lifters in the world at the time. But now some of what the lifters were lifting then at the time, You could easily see it in IPF Worlds and USAPL Nationals in Sheffield. Some of them won't even place. And I won't even place nowadays. Okay, but anyway, after and how that relate? I mean, just getting into it also. So I was just a lifter dude, yeah, big lifter, whatever. Losing who I was, losing my identity, partying, and then I realized, you know what? I mean, I was studying, but it wasn't my. I was acting like studying wasn't that important. I wasn't caring that much about school, even though I was studying, but it wasn't a big focus. And it wasn't as much as I would all my first 12 years of schooling. And then, I almost, after freshman year, I almost didn't make it to the next year. Then I really had to reevaluate who I was. I was like, I don't like the person I was becoming. So I started taking school more seriously. So I did better my sophomore year because I stopped the partying. I was studying more, and I was still lifting, but so I was balancing both. I could get more into detail about my lifting and uh, and college years, but I don't want to make this video too long unless you request like the full version of the video, because I already talked so much about my freshman year and the lifts I did. And I could make this a multiple part video if you want me to. You have to just request in the comments if you want me to make multiple parts of my lifting and college career. So yeah, but long story short, sophomore year I was squatting and deadlifting 3 times a week. I mean no, 3 times a day, and that was my what's it called, fall of sophomore year, and I gained 40 pounds that whole sophomore year. Went from 210 pounds and nearly shredded naturally as a teen to 250 pounds and fat, barely gaining upper body muscle, getting bigger legs. My legs got a lot stronger within like 4 weeks. I went within that whole September. I went from having a 315 for 10 reps squat as a 19-year-old to 10 pounds ripped, and that squat was hard, to like end of September 405 for 8 rep squat. So I added 90 pounds to my squat and minus 2 reps. And my body weight went from 210 pounds and lean to 238 pounds. And do you know what I changed? I just ate 5 to 10 cookies a day. I ate so much, and I was fortunate enough to have an a la carte meal plan all 4 years of university, where I lived on campus, and it was like endless food, and it wasn't the best tasting food, Sodexo, but it was all the food you can eat. And back then, I just ate for a purpose. So, ate to get as much food strong as possible. And so I just kept doing 3 times a day squats and deadlifts, and doing some upper body. But my upper body didn't get that much stronger. And then at the end of sophomore fall semester, my back broke for the first time because I did stood on bumper plates, 45-pound bumper plates, got all the makeshift resistance bands for a 505-pound deadlift. I did 5 reps, and the 5th rep I snapped my lower back, and I could have done like at least 5 to 10 more reps. But it, for some reason, I just hurt myself. I guess it was overtraining. And funny enough, right? I was hitting rep PRs like 425 for 8 rep squat. And back then, I was squatting in a cheap belt before I got a lever belt. And I was doing bare knee. Nothing in my knees, no sleeves, nothing. And I was doing volume those 3 times a day, squats and deadlifts. I was just eating so much calories to recover. And I got up to a point where I was doing a 560, 580, no, 575 pound, wow, 575 pound sumo deadlift for 6 reps, and then uh five, and I could have done like 8 reps if I wanted to, and this was beltless. And I did 585 pound deadlift, 6 plates for 4 reps. I could have done a 5th rep, but I stopped at 4 because I was going to crap myself. So I didn't want to do that. I'm not the type that would soil myself for the sake of getting an extra rep. I mean, there were ladies over there. There are people over there. I don't want to smell like crap. So I didn't want to do that. But anyway, then the sophomore year of spring, I wanted to lose weight. So I just did a severe starvation diet where I ate 1 meal a day, either had gum all day or ate later, and then sometimes had a light meal at night if I was still hungry. Gum and water, did cardio, did bodyweight exercises. And because I couldn't squat and deadlift, that's why I cut. Because I knew I couldn't get as strong as possible anymore on squats and deadlifts, so I had to lose weight. And my upper body wasn't getting stronger. I couldn't figure it out yet. So I just did calisthenics and cardio. And towards the end of the semester, I got to a point where I did squats again. I did 315 for 2 reps, ass to grass. And that was the first time I put anything on my back. 315 felt heavy on my back. And the 2 reps were like the hardest 2 reps I've done on squats. So I lost a lot of strength. And everyone was talking about how skinny I was getting. Even though I was still bigger than them. But compared to what I was. I went from 250 pounds to 225 pounds, but I didn't have the swole arms or whatever, but I was still bigger than everyone. Basically like Kali Muscle, who lost all his freakish steroid muscle, but Kali Muscle is still bigger than you, especially you non-lifter folk. But anyway, then towards the summer, right? I got up. I deadlifted for the first time. I got to 500 for a grinder on a 45 pound plate, regular one, and then I got up to a. I went from a 315 pound for 2 reps squat in May to a July 315 for 3 sets of 9. And then August I done 315 for 17 reps. And then, junior year again, I was just squatting, deadlifting, doing calisthenics. And I wasn't getting the best grades in my junior year. I don't know why. I guess school was too important. School wasn't that important than lifting. I couldn't figure school out. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't happy. So, yeah. Even though my physique was getting even better, I was 230 pounds in really ripped. I'll even put pictures up. You'll see, and you'll see some of the lifts. I mean, early on, I couldn't. Some of the lifts, I couldn't. Some of the lifts, I didn't have footage of because, I don't have photos. I mean, I didn't have a phone until, I guess, until my senior year. My phone. That's when I really had a phone. But anyway, and I guess some of my junior year. But anyway, yeah, and even to the point Christmas, I was 240 pounds and swole as hell and very lean. I look like a freak. And I hit a 550-pound high deficit deadlift for 5 reps. Some of this I'll put videos and photos. Some of this I won't. But I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. All I wanted to do was lift. I wasn't happy socially. I felt like I didn't belong anywhere except the gym. So I took the semester off my junior year, spring. I did lifting, and then, long story short, lifted in my town, got swole, got lean, found God again, found religion again. I'm not a born again Christian. I was raised Christian and Catholic my whole life, but I was losing religion because, I was losing who I was. I wanted to be cool, and it was cool to reject religion, reject who you were, be an atheist. I was so insecure those years because I wanted to belong, because I never felt like I belonged. Then I realized that, you know what? You have to be yourself and own yourself. Don't be like anybody else. Don't be who you're not. So that was kind of what I was learning more and more. Don't try to impress somebody to compromise who you are. And do the right thing most of the time, even if people don't want to do the right thing because they lost who they are or they are blind. Don't have to be blind with them. Believe in something, stand up for what's right. And anyway, anyway, what I also want to say is, then I went back senior year. Senior year, was I was squatting and deadlifting. I was squatting 3 to 5 times a day, 5 days a week, and I got so much squat strength, and I got so much bigger those years. I was really jacked. I was 250 and lean. At a peak, I was 256 and very, very freakish and lean. And I was 21 years old. I looked really freakish as a natty in New Jersey. Not even bodybuilding, just training like a lifter, a power lifter. And my numbers at the time was a 585 deadlift. No, a 585 squat, bare knee, high bar, 365 bench, uh, 675 conventional deadlift, no belt, no straps, mixed grip. Uh, I did 225 standing strict OHP. I was repping the hundreds on dumbbell seated military. I was doing handstand push-ups. I had 135-pound weighted chin-up. I easily did 10 full range of motion pull-ups. I did pistol squat with, I was doing pistol squats with, I guess, 100 pounds. Kettlebells, 250s. Did a front squat with 4 or 5 pounds with ease, no belt, no wraps, no sleeves. I did nose level 220-pound seated military for reps. I did 500-pound squat, bare knee sleeveless for the reps. So, I was pretty strong. And when it came to school, right, how I balanced my senior year in school, I was doing discrete mathematics. I was doing Calc C. I was doing physics, and those I think were my only three courses, if I remember. And you know, I was so with doing gym and Calc C and math 3 to 5 times a day. It was basically, and the library was next to the gym, was next to the cafeteria. It was basically walking seconds. It was seconds walk between the three. So it'd be like library to study all day, gym break, I mean library to study all day, eat, gym break, eat, library, eat, gym break, eat, library, eat, gym break, eat, library. And this doesn't include the times I had class or the times I was in tutoring or just studying in the math department or had a tutoring session. So tutoring session, class, math department, library, lift, squat, eat, library. So yeah, I had no life. And I was like social once or twice a year. As you imagine, I had no social life, but the way I was social was people in the gym talked to me still. People in the cafeteria ate with me, even though sometimes I ate alone because I'm normally on the go. Sometimes I study alone or study with others, but most of the time study alone. My my schedule operated by itself. So especially that senior year, it was like me by myself doing just what I had to do. Just and I didn't want to wait for anybody to get the job done. So it was most of the time sitting by myself. And if somebody who saw me who I was cool with, they sat with me and then I had to go. And then, okay. So, and then junior year, I mean, no, not junior year, senior year, yeah, this was all senior year fall. I, and then the winter semester, I got to a point where I was taking three more math courses. I had an ultimatum because I wasn't I was potentially gonna take an I wasn't doing well that semester and I was doing too much gym over studies. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take off the gym completely and completely focus on my studying. But it didn't work at all because I still wasn't doing well even without the gym. I ended up not going to the gym at all for 3 weeks and only studying, but my mind was strictly and heart was on the gym. So I just did the gym in moderation from now on and still finished the semester strong. So, and it was more of that gym in moderation, uh, just putting gym in moderation, but still doing more of a structured program later on, my own structured programming, and eating the part, making progress, really focusing on school. If I didn't focus on the gym, I focused on school. I didn't care about social life. I didn't care about none of that anymore. Because social life, I tried it my freshman year. And I realized that I was becoming somebody who I was not. And it wasn't all it's cracked up to be. And at least I filled that hole in my heart. If I never lived out my freshman year, I would always feel like I'm missing out. The partying, the friends I had to hang out with, all that stuff. I would have felt like I was missing out, but I didn't. So I'm glad because, like I always say, if you feel like you're missing out on something, get it out of your system completely and then go back to real life so you can fill that void. So, long story short, I balanced. I lived in moderation. I was still getting stronger, still getting jacked. I really, if I wasn't focusing on the gym, I focused on school. I studied a lot. I went to tutoring. I what's it called? Went to the library. I went to the teachers if I had a question, even if I'm the only one there often. Most often, I'm the only one there, and the teachers would be like, "Ah, this guy, he's not gonna." But I didn't care what they thought. At least they saw I was making an attempt to learn, so they appreciate that. When the teacher knows that you give a damn about your schoolwork and make attempt, they respect that, and you actually put in the work to get better. You're most likely gonna do well. So always show that you care. Show that you care. Show up in the university class. Go show up to your teachers. Sometimes participate, even if nobody raises their hand in class. They'll be like, "Oh, this guy's such a geek. He's such a loser. He's such a nerd." Hey, man, who do you want to be? A geek, a loser, or a nerd to somebody else, or someone who's actually winning and succeeding? So, the I'm not gonna say I. If anything, what I could have done is, if I've known now, I mean, I guess I filled out the social void. If I actually had my own knowledge of programming, I would have made better gains and made better progress and not waste so much time in school. But at the same time, I still made a lot of progress and still had a good physique and was very strong. So it's not a complete waste when it comes to lifting, but it was at the cost of school. But I still ended up finishing because I corrected it before it was too late. So yeah, just really put school first and still find time to lift. And that's really how I did it. And that's how I summed it up. And I got my math degree. And any more questions? Yeah, I'm still lifting, making gains, baby. Making gains. Yeah, son. No, somewhat. Not like before, but it's still there. But anyway, if you have any more questions about this video or something else you would like me to touch up on, drop in the comments below. If you got this far, God bless you. I'm not the most pleasant speaker. I, yeah, boring, monotone, whatever. But you guys still stick around and hear me talk, so I guess it counts for something. A lot of you still like how I talk regardless, but I don't care. I accept it. I accept it. I don't care, man. You don't have it all. And I still got the message across. So I still got my message across. So if you watched the video this far, thank you. And if you want me to touch up on more about school and learning or about school itself, hopefully it's not too bad or too taboo. I could touch up on it. If you want me to make more videos on anything else, let me know. I'll drop in the comments below. Drop in comments below. I'll come back eventually. And yes, I have some video topics that I had to discuss and are waiting to be discussed. Some of you told me, some of my subscribers. I'm gonna come back to you and I'll still make those videos. I just have to make them the best quality so I can give you the best produced video the way I know how to make it. So they're gonna come up. And God bless you all. Peace out.